So just recently, and some of you may or may not know this, I'm part of a small Zen community, of a small Sangha, of a small fellowship. And there just recently a fellow student, another Zen practitioner, he had this question for our Zen teacher, who's just a Zen practitioner himself, who's been practicing Zen Buddhism for many, many years. And then this other student, he asked my teacher about this quote from Bodhidharma that he stumbled upon, but where he really wasn't sure if it was even a real quote and just what to think of it in general, if it's just completely made up or if it's actually something that Bodhidharma expressed in order to share his wisdom with us. So here goes the quote. When you don't understand, you depend on reality. When you do understand, reality depends on you. So this other student, he shared this quote with us and he added, "Is this really from Bodhidharma?" And then he went on saying, because in Zen Buddhism, and I'm just trying to reference what he said, we keep ourselves, or we strive to keep ourselves in the state of I don't know. And there he's referencing to what is called, or what's named, beginner's mind, which is basically translated from, I think it's Japanese, from the term shoshin, which basically just describes always trying to see everything from moment to moment as if you've never seen it before. And this term was, or this concept was popularized by Shunryu Suzuki, who wrote this book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And for my fellow student, it seems like this concept or this idea, this notion, that it contradicts the quote from Bodhidharma, because in that quote, Bodhidharma says, when you understand, reality depends on you. But if we strive to keep ourselves in the state of I don't know, in that state we really can't say I understand something, right? Yeah, I will just go into that more in a second. And then he also said, so this quote is just motivational bullshit, right? And then my teacher responded to him, or our teacher responded to him, the only reason for attempting to express what cannot be spoken is compassion for others. Bodhidharma is attempting to say what cannot be said, and he does it beautifully. So he says that Bodhidharma tried to convey something to us that cannot even be conveyed through words to others. But Bodhidharma tried to do it anyways because he had compassion, because he was interested in the well-being of all beings, of other beings, of not just himself. And then my teacher also referenced this excerpt from a book, and from that book the quote from Bodhidharma also originates. And this book is called the Zen Teaching of Bodhidharma. And he also went on to say to this other student, okay, now read this part of the book and then tell me, what is understanding? What does it truly mean to understand something in the context of Zen Buddhism? So in this excerpt from Bodhidharma, or from this book of Bodhidharma's teachings, Bodhidharma also goes on to say, if you use your mind to study reality, you won't understand either your mind or reality. If you study reality without using your mind, you will understand both. So clearly, Bodhidharma is not talking about intellectual understanding, about using your mind to understand something, like we do it in science. We get some things, we analyze them, we relate them to each other, we categorize them, we measure them, we discern everything, and then we use logical reasoning to get conclusion out of a hypothesis. And then we make up models and theories and everything, and we use them to go through life or to have a better life overall, and a better experience, a better understanding of life. But that is limited to the capabilities of our mind. And Bodhidharma is talking about an understanding that's not happening in the field or at the level of our mind. He's talking about an understanding that's even farther, or that's even higher, you could say, or even deeper than that. And this understanding that he's talking about, from what I can tell, is an extremely direct understanding. It's basically seeing something, and through the seeing at the same time understanding it. So there's no distinction between seeing and understanding. And we can take this even further and say that in this, or by this understanding that Bodhidharma is talking about, it's not even like, okay, I'm here, there's reality, I see reality and I understand reality. It's not like I'm here, I experience something and this is the experience. I'm here, there's the experience, I'm experiencing it. It's like the person who understands the thing that is to be understood, they all become one thing. They all become understanding. They all merge with each other. And then, like my teacher said earlier, Bodhidharma is trying to say something that cannot be spoken or that cannot be described by words. And also what I'm doing right now, it doesn't really work, or I'm also just trying to convey something to you that doesn't logically really make sense. Or we can kind of understand it with our intellect, maybe, but this kind of understanding will never be the same as this truth, as the true understanding itself, because it's not inside of our mind, it's beyond our minds. So this is the understanding that Bodhidharma is talking about, direct, immediate understanding, everything unreeling itself, not even to you, not to anything, it just it's just there, but it's not even there. It's not there, it's not there, it's beyond that. And now with that in mind, we can again look at this quote from Bodhidharma, and now we can try to understand what he's saying there. And in this excerpt from the book of Bodhidharma, he also says, when you depend on reality, everything is false. But when reality depends on you, everything is true. And it's kind of insane to try to unpack this, or to try to explain this, because it doesn't even make sense. But I can still try to talk about how it feels for me when everything is true, or when I'm in the state where reality depends on me. And this state is something where you can reach it through meditation, through Zen practice. It can also just happen spontaneously. And in this state, and I'm going to describe it from my perspective, I'm just totally resting in consciousness, in something like awareness. But it's not even like I'm resting in there. It's more like I'm becoming that, or I'm already that, and I'm coming back to that. And I can't even say I am resting in consciousness, because consciousness is nothing that's personal in itself. It's nothing that has any characteristics to it. It's just that space that sees all the forms of life, all the movement of life, all the characteristics of life, but it's not that itself. So when I am that, I'm just totally still. I'm just space. And there is still then movement happening. There are still forms arising and falling away. But these forms, these emotions, these thoughts, they don't affect me anymore. And what Bodhidharma is saying is even farther than that, because again, then there's no me anymore. There's just things arising, disappearing, but they are the same as them being experienced. And again, it's like a riddle. It's extremely hard to understand this with our mind, and it's probably not even possible. And what I'm doing right here is just very foolish. But if you really listen to what I'm saying, if you really let this quote from Bodhidharma sink in, then maybe you can also kind of get a sense, kind of get a feeling for what Bodhidharma is saying. And that's the conclusion of this video, and that's even the most important part of this video, is that it's not about intellectually understanding this quote from Bodhidharma. It's not about figuring it out and then finally saying, oh, now I got it. It's more to be taken as a kind of inspiration, as a kind of motivation to look into your own nature, to look into reality, and to try to understand reality. And the way to do this is through practicing. We can use Zen practice, but we can also use a lot of other practices that are out there in different traditions, in different religions, in different spiritual teachings. For example, you can use something like yoga, you can use Zen practice, you can just go outside and walk for a few hours. That's also a kind of practice. There are different ways we can cultivate this beginner's mind, this fresh look on everything. And if we cultivate this fresh look on everything, this fresh seeing, this seeing everything like it's new, then we bring ourselves into a position where we can spontaneously also have this true understanding, this great understanding, this understanding that's beyond our minds, this understanding that Bodhidharma and so many other people, so many other sages have been talking about and have been trying to convey to us. Yeah, so that's it for this video. If you have had maybe glimpses of this true understanding, feel free to share them here with me or in the comments. If you have any other thoughts on this topic, let me know about them. And with all this being said, I hope you're doing well. And yeah, I hope we can all understand ourselves, each other, and the world that we found ourselves in.